Orcs taking king versus Chaos God Khorne, blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. Let me start off by saying I am not an expert in either franchise. I pulled my research from the wikis, the Verse Battle wiki, plus personal experience from actually playing the video games and reading some of the books and stuff like that. So let's get into it. First, let's address the two elephants in the room. Number one, I can't find anything that says Khorne can or cannot die. However, I think I can answer this much later on in the video. And number two, Orcs was killed in a weakened state by the Guardian, who is also a cosmic event, aka the player, the same entity that, can be perfectly honest with you, can kill any fictional being across any fictional universe. So back to that first elephant. Immortality. They both have it and they both can strip it away. Why their fight can be even. Because they also can regenerate and they both can nullify the other's regenerational factors into this as well. So the fight would actually be taking place in the warp because Khorne cannot travel outside of the warp. Putting him outside of the warp also severely weakens him because that's just kind of how he is. He only exists in the warp. Now he can leave the warp using actors and actresses and stuff like that and embed them with power much far less than his own. So therefore the fight would be in the warp, and Khorne has the big advantage of fighting this into the warp itself. Now, just to go ahead and also say that Khorne has quite a few immunities that affect the warp. Orcs also has a metric load of immunities as well, and I cannot list them all here because we would literally be here all day. So let's go ahead and get into the actual, battle statistics. Now, Khorne is faster than Orc, but Orc has the ability to travel dimensions and teleport to them. He can also teleport other beings with him, so he can literally just pick you up, teleport you, and take you to whatever dimension he particularly wants to go. And I think this is a big factor into this battle as well, or at least one of the outcomes that I have. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into Orc's big ability, which is to take. So this is pretty much a mathematical copy of you where he breaks you down, reforms you into the mathematical copy that is 100% loyal to him. If you have a personality, it is only because he allows for you to have that personality. Now this wouldn't work against Khorne because the warp just has no math in it. It literally breaks down math, time, and all this other varied amount of stuff. On the flip side, Khorne is all about corruption, and orcs can't really be corrupted. He has A, immunity to that, and B, he kind of already is corrupted by the Taken. So again, you can't really corrupt somebody that's kind of already corrupted. It just doesn't work. Khorne's fire can damage and harm the soul, but Orcs has immunity to fire, and also Orc's soul isn't in his body. He has that in his own personal realm in a crystal, and by the way, has an immunity to soul tampering based magic. So again, it's a moot point for Khorne's fire to begin with. So just going by a little bit of the tick for tack that they already have, I think this battle just comes down to hacks above all else. These two are gods in their own realms and only can be killed really in their own realm. I think you can kill Khorne outside of his realm, but that's kind of, I haven't been able to find anything about that one. Majority of their abilities and their moves can be countered or nullified. Khorne has the sword. I give Khorne the sword logic because Khorne is literally a chaos god of war and fighting. Of course, he would probably know the sword logic or quickly adapt to it so he can kill him. Orcs doesn't have the warp or any type of chaos affected by him because again, it doesn't exist in the Destiny universe. But he does have void fire and status effects immunity that allows for him just to not be affected by this. One of the big things to remember is that these two are warrior gods, and they are very, very similar in a lot of their abilities and a lot of their aspects that they can do. I know that some of the franchise people are going to be, well, no, they're different. They're different. No, they're really, really not. If you kind of start boiling them down, they both are warrior kings. They both only rule because no one can affect them or no one can kill them. Because again, they rule by force. That's the whole thing. So that's why again, this is such a fun fight and such a kind of an even fight. So here are the outcomes that I can see happening. Number one, they tie. I mean, it's kind of inevitable. They can't kill each other. As I said, they're both warrior gods and everything. And the moment Khorne mortally wounds Oryx, he would just retreat back to his realm, or his body would be destroyed, and he would just regenerate his body back into his realm, and then just go right back into the warp to fight all over again. knowing how he got killed, so he would just, adapt. But again, it would just slowly turn into a tie until the point where both of these just coexist and they battle through proxy soldiers, because I do believe the Taken can actually survive in the 40k universe quite easily, whereas no other race in the Destiny universe I think can really survive in the 40k universe. These two are lesser outcomes, but I still think that they could possibly happen. It just depends on the hacks again. Is Oryx is in the middle of the fight, grabs Khorne, teleports him out of the realm or the warp realm, and just kills him there. Again, I don't know if Khorne would just regenerate back into the realm. Even if he did, Oryx could just go to the warp and then kill a very weakened Khorne. So that's one of the outcomes. The other outcome is Oryx wins by the long run. Again, going back to that first outcome, whereas he battles, they can't go back and forth a little bit. So Oryx just goes back to his realm, uses the Death Song and the King's Decree to kill Khorne. And the reason why I didn't bring up these two before is because A, King's Decree is a ritual, so you have to cast that. And to be perfectly honest with you, Khorne's going to be all over Oryx fighting. I mean, he's not going to have any time to do that. And the Death Song really just allows for him to take a move and then just literally paper airplane it across dimensions into whatever dimension he particularly wants to, and then boom, the spell attacks. So he would just bombard Khorne from a distance. On the flip side, Khorne does have the ability to like poke outside of his universe, so he could literally just open up a portal and poke his sword through, which I find funny. Again, I don't think that has the ability to actually kill Orcs, because you would have to figure out where his soul crystal are and everything else like that. So that's one of the possibilities. But again, I think these two outcomes are very low. More so, Khorne poking his sword through the crystal and killing the crystal that houses Oryx's soul. I think that's extraordinarily unlikely. So in the end, that's the outcomes that I can see. I give the edge to Oryx only because he has a bunch of resistances, nullifications, and stuff like that. Um, I think it will be a fun fight, and I think it will be a very evenly fight. I think it's literally like a 50-50 on who would win, based off of how they go. And again, I didn't list all their immunities and all their abilities, because a lot of them are just tick for tack. The more I looked into it, the more I'm like, oh, this is cool. Khorne has an ability to like use an infinite amount of soldiers and just keep spawning soldiers and demons to go ahead and fight. And then, on the flip side, Orcs has that ability too. So he could literally just spawn an infinite amount of soldiers that he wanted to and just defeat those soldiers while he's battling Khorne. And again, it's just a lot of this tick for tack that these two are going back to, because again, both of them are very similar in their creations and in their fights, and I absolutely love it. I mean, I didn't even get to go into like a lot of their weaponry that they use, because Oryx has the ability to just slash the air. His sword, the Will Breaker, just hits you and starts to break your will to fight. But that's null because it's Khorne. He literally loves to fight. That's his whole shtick. The more fighting in the universe, the stronger he becomes. So, again, I think it's an even fight. I think it's a fun fight above all else, and that's the only reason why I have these two going up against each other, is because again, I think it's a fun fight to actually nerd out over. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. Just don't disagree because my universe is better than your universe. I love all the universes. I'm just that type of person, so I will happily put people up against each other if it's going to be fun, and then nerd out on why it's actually fun, instead of just being like, oh, well, like, again, I go back to no one in the Destiny universe other than Oryx, I firmly believe would be able to survive in the Warhammer universe, because they do not have a lot of what makes Oryx powerful. Again, Oryx is already corrupted, which is a big aspect in and of itself. But anyways, I hope y'all have an amazing time. Let me know who you want to fight. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Bye.